Here's his girlfriend screaming out in the street. Well, I gotta go help her. I gotta go back into the apartment, and I gotta grab a samurai sword. So he's looking around his living room. I mean, this guy doesn't really own a gun. He owns a BB gun, right? But a BB gun versus an actual firearm probably wouldn't, right?
Yep.
So he's thinking, okay, a kitchen knife. But that's really also against a gun. What he did have was a collection of prized samurai swords that he had on display near his television. So what does he do? He grabs one of those, runs outside, and without even thinking, he said that his intention was not to kill anyone. His only intention was to save Hannah. He brings it up in the air in the middle of the street in broad daylight and slams it down onto the robber's head. Now, the main center of this story is Blake Davis and Hannah Quinn. She runs into a man. She has never seen this man before, just standing in front of their apartment. And she's like, okay, this is weird. It looks like he's scoping out the building. Maybe he's trying to break in. Maybe he's stalking someone that lives in this building. But I believe Hannah's thought was, well, it's probably not me. I don't know this guy. It's not like he's my ex-boyfriend. It's not like I, had worked with him before. This is a complete stranger. So briefly, they make this eye contact, and he looks back at her and does a double take. She's like, okay, that's so weird, but continues on with her stuff, goes inside the apartment, gives Blake his coffee, and almost instantly, the door gets kicked down. Well, not really kicked down, but it gets forced open, and there is a man standing in the same exact clothing as that stranger outside, and he's got a gun and he's pointing it at them. Give me your freaking money. Give me your freaking money. Give it to me right now. Hannah starts panicking. I mean, within seconds, she realizes this is the guy that was scoping out the place outside. Like, this is not gonna end well. I mean, he was stalking the place, he was looking for this moment, and now he's doing it to us. So she starts freaking out, like, we don't have any money, get out, get out. So she's primarily screaming, get out, get out. Now, this is when Blake decides he needs to scream even louder than her and scream, we don't have any money. Because if you're getting robbed, and let's say your neighbor hears through the walls, just get out. It sounds like a relationship fight, especially on a Friday morning, right? But if you hear, we don't have any money, it sounds like a robbery. It doesn't sound like some sort of like familial domestic issue, right?
Yeah.
So he starts screaming, we don't have any money. Now the robber at this point doesn't really believe them. He just keeps screaming, give me the forking money, give it to me now. And he's getting more aggressive with the gun. He's like, give me the forking money, and just like pointing it at them, like shoving it in their faces. So they're panicking, and this is when the robber states, I know people, and they know where you live. Not only do they know where you live, but they know where your families live. And we will kill every single one of you, so give me your money. Now you're thinking, whoa, Stephanie, you just told me that Blake and Hannah are completely normal couples. Like, that doesn't make sense. Why are people stalking them? Are they, a Rockefeller? The couple, they don't know what to do. Blake is like, I gotta protect my girlfriend Hannah, right? And immediately as he's thinking that, he falls to the ground. And he opens his eye, and there's just blood all over his left eye. So Blake is standing there thinking, I have been freaking shot. Oh my God. And he knocks out.
Did he get shot?
He was not shot. So in the same hand as the gun, this guy had one of those like knuckle tools that you wear. Those like beef shredders.
Beef shredder, yes.
Yeah, and
exactly.
just punched Blake in the face, fractured his eye. And now he's on the ground, bleeding. Just can't even see through his left eye right now because it's covered in blood. Barely from his right eye because it's also covered in blood. Meanwhile, Hannah and the robber get into a little tussle. This is where the story gets bizarre. Okay, up until this point, you're like, okay, standard home invasion story. So Hannah, she's got this purse because she just came in from brunch. Literally just set her bags down, okay? She's got her purse right here. He starts grabbing it. And she starts grabbing it. And they get into a little tussle. Like, I don't know why she didn't let it go, but it was like fight or flight, and she decided to fight, I guess, right? So they're in this tussle. The tussle keeps going out the front door and into the main street. Like, she just won't let go.
They're still tugging.
Just tugging, like this. Just tugging. She won't let go. They get into the main street. Finally, he grabs it away from her, and now the robber turns around with the purse, running away with it. This is what he wanted. He wanted the purse. Now, this is where it gets even more bizarre. But she decided that she's gonna chase after this guy. She just starts running after the dude, running after the gunman. And she grabs her purse back and swings it towards her. And he lets go. He gets jerked around, and now he's facing her again, okay? So then at this point, he grabs his little knuckle thing again and is trying to punch her in the face. For whatever reason, Hannah ducks. She's like an MMA fighter. She ducks. He falls to the ground because he was trying to punch her with that much force, falls on all fours, grabs his gun, and allegedly points it at Hannah. Now, at this point, she's screaming. She's thinking she's gonna get shot. Like, why did I chase after this guy? Why did I need my purse back? And around this time, Blake wakes up. So what does he do? He hears his girlfriend screaming out in the street. Well, I gotta go help her, but I can't go help her because I couldn't even help her in the apartment. I gotta go back into the apartment, and I gotta grab a samurai sword. So he's looking around his living room. I mean, this guy doesn't really own a gun. He owns a BB gun, right? But a BB gun versus an actual firearm probably wouldn't, right?
Yeah.
So he's thinking, okay, a kitchen knife. But that's really also against a gun. What he did have was a collection of prized samurai swords that he had on display near his television. So what does he do? He grabs one of those, runs outside, and without even thinking, he said that his intention was not to kill anyone. His only intention was to save Hannah. He brings it up in the air in the middle of the street in broad daylight and slams it down onto the robber's head. So at this point, Hannah's freaking out, but she sees that the robber is kind of moving a little bit. Now at this point, do they call for help? Do they call 911? Do they call an ambulance, right? They run back home. They don't call 911. They don't lock the door and call 911. They hide the samurai sword covered in blood. They grab a bag, fill it with nunchucks, a BB gun, okay, weird, and $20,000 of cash.
What?
Their entire life savings, and they run out and they go on the run. At this point, Blake claims that he had no idea what he was doing. I mean, he was so out of it. He had PTSD. He was actually in the middle of a concussion, so they call it concussed. He was concussed at this point. He wasn't thinking clearly. Hannah states that she told Blake to grab the money because she felt like the robber was going to go back into the house, or like he stated, he knew people that were going to go into the house and rob them. And at this point, the police have been called. The neighbors saw what happened. And truly, I mean, it's kind of up in the air. Was this guy robbing them? What was happening? They don't really know. The police get there, and this man had died. So now they're on a manhunt for the killers. The murderers. They're not looking for Hannah and Blake to help them through the trauma or to, get them attorney. They're looking for them to arrest them for first-degree murder. And this couple goes on the run. For the next 3 days, they check into a bunch of different hotels. A lot of CCTV cameras catch them. They've got their hoods up. They've got a hat on. I mean, just really suspicious stuff. Not once for the next 3 days do they call the police. They claim that they found out that the robber had died the next day by watching the news. They stated that they had no idea that he died because in reality, they believed that he was going to get back up and kill him. So finally, on the third day, they reached out to an attorney first and then turned themselves in to the police, and both of them were arrested for first-degree murder charges. Now, who was this robber? Because he actually knew the couple. The couple didn't know him, but he knew the couple. His name was Jet McKee, and he was a rapper. A lot of his music videos depict him robbing people's houses, like doing home invasions in his music video. So a little strange, right? He was also addicted to he did gamble a lot. That was another addiction of his. So at one point, him and his friend decided to rob a house. They pull off a home invasion with a crowbar. It's successful. They don't get caught. They get a lot of cash out of it. With this next one, they want more cash. Your average person, they don't really have a lot of cash in the house. I am very adamant on keeping no cash in the house. So the friend is like, I know this girl. Her name is Hannah, and I sell her a lot of, and she sells it to all of her friends. Now, it seems like Jet and this guy, this friend, the dealer, they're more like hardcore. At this point in the arrest, the police had already known all of this, right? Now, Hannah claims that she never really considered herself a dealer. She didn't even, she knew what she was doing was illegal because it's illegal and she's smoking, but she didn't necessarily think that she's a dealer, right? All she did was just buy in bulk and, split it with her friends. So she claims that she never considered herself a dealer, and the police said, well, we found a bunch of in your house. They did claim that it was small quantities, not like an empire of, right? And then on top of that, they found $3,000 in cash. Now, you're thinking, well, what about that $20,000 that she ran off with? They abandoned it in an alleyway. It was later found by the police. So the trial comes around, and both of them are being charged with first-degree murder. And the prosecutors, they really turned this into an trial. They did not talk about the home invasion as much, the robbery, or any of that. They mainly focused on the fact that this couple are dealers, and they killed Jet to prove a point. that if you try to rob a dealer, we're gonna slash you with a samurai sword. And so then the trial proceeds. You had a bunch of neighbors testifying. One neighbor said, I don't think Jet had his gun. I think the gun had fallen or it was in his pocket. So he's on the ground with no gun pointing at Hannah, but they killed him. Why would they do that? But then when they also hear her first initial statements to the police, she stated that Blake came out holding some sort of stick. The neighbors also said that the couple were the couple from hell, the neighbors from hell, just horrendous neighbors. Again, circumstantial stuff. So of course the couple were trying to argue self-defense. Now, self-defense is nowhere near as easy as you would think it might be. You would think that if someone is, putting you up to a gunpoint and you're being robbed in your own house and the property that you own, that you would have some rights, right? Usually not. Like, that's the crazy thing about self-defense. So the way that they describe it is your action has to be equal to the threat at hand. So in California, in the state of California, if you have the opportunity to leave your house during a home invasion, even if they're holding you up at gunpoint, you better leave your house before you shoot them. Because you could get sued or put in jail for the rest of your life if you shoot them, even though they are literally holding you at gunpoint and robbing you of all of your belongings. So at this point, you have to argue that this was in protection of your life. You did not overact. You had just the appropriate reaction to make sure that you didn't die. So the jury had a very big problem with the samurai sword aspect. It seems like a lot of the attorneys said this case would have been a slam dunk in self-defense if he had used a kitchen knife. There was also no proof to say that Jet had pointed the gun at them outside. So it's one thing if you are literally under a gun. Sorry, my little thing. It's one thing if you're literally under a gun. It's another thing if they put the gun away and then you're like, you know what? I'm gonna kill you in self-defense. Because it's like they already put the gun away.
Yeah.
So because of that, Blake was charged with manslaughter, and he will spend a minimum of, I believe, 2 years in prison. And Hannah was charged with accessory after the fact, meaning she went on the run with Blake. But they never really had any intentions to, stay on the run. They left their cash. They didn't plan to, leave the country. They just said that they were dazed and just moving around for the next 3 days. They said mainly they were so scared of Jet and his friends. I don't like the couple, but I do feel like they shouldn't have been found guilty. I don't know if they overreacted to a situation. I mean, this was a pretty vicious home invasion. Now, side note, Jet's gun had no bullets in it. But that didn't really factor in too much because if you don't know, you don't know. So you only know what you know and you're gonna act upon that information. So they're still together. Hannah says that Blake is her hero. She feels haunted by the fact that someone died that day, but she does feel like her life would have ended in broad daylight on that street that day. Blake, on the other hand, he has been diagnosed with PTSD and anxiety, and he says that he has just a really shitty hope in the justice system because he feels like he did not go over and beyond. He's like, someone tell me what the self-defense would have looked like at that point.